New year, new anime. The anime industry makes tons of new shows for each season, and with the start of the new year again comes new anime. Winter 2019 season has just started and there are a lot of shows that really have impressed me with their first episodes. So how it's going to work is I'm going to go in order of my anime list. So the most popular shows will start and then they'll get more and more obscure. So the first show on our list is MobPsych 102. Now, it's made by Studio Bones, and if you don't know who Bones is, you definitely should, because they've made some pretty phenomenal stuff like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, My Hero Academia, Soul Eater, etc. If you haven't seen the first season of MobPsych 100, it's about a kid named Mob who has psychic powers. Throughout the series, he tries to control his powers with the help of Reagan, who's literally a con artist. Reagan runs an exorcism shop, and Mob basically does all the dirty work because Reagan doesn't have psychic powers like Mob. Even though Reagan runs a pretty shady business, he genuinely cares for Mob and wants to control his powers and make him a better person. It's made by the same guy who wrote One Punch Man, 1. It has some great animation, it kinda looks rough, but also clean at the same time. If you watch it, you'll know what I mean. It's also extremely funny, with Reagan being a comedic relief character. It's as good as I remember. It seems like they also have that style of smear paint animation that was in the first season. Fun fact, the girl who does the animation got hired right out of high school, because she was just so talented. This second season just continues the activities of Mob and Reagan, and I'm excited to see the rest. If you want to watch MobPsych 100, it's on Crunchyroll. Okay, so the next show is Rising of the Shield Hero, or Tate no Yusha no Nariagari, made by Kinema Citrus, the studio that made such classics like Black Bullet and Scorching Ping Pong Girls. Ha! They did make those, but they also made better shows like Barakamon, Made in Abyss, and now this show. Here comes a show that has sexual assault allegations in the first episode. Shield Hero is just an isekai, or a transported to another world show, where the protagonist is a filthy otaku. Just like every isekai, he leads a boring life, but suddenly gets transported to another world. He comes in the world as one of the 4 heroes of legend who wield sacred weapons. The only problem is, he gets the shield. He leads a new fun life in this other world, but then
everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only
the Shield Hero, master of the shield, could stop the waves.
But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
That's basically the show. No. Anyway, no one really respects him, and it gets even worse when a woman, a part of his own party, accuses him of sexual assault. He becomes a lone traveler and tries to stop the evil in his world his own way. Alright, now before I continue, why is every show recently tackling tough topics? First it was Goblin Slayer with the rape scenes, then it was Sword Art Online's 10th episode having a content warning for rape, which isn't surprising for Sword Art Online. And now there's this show. There's also a slave girl. Like, what is this show? Anyway, all those things aside, I liked the first episode. It starts out like a generic isekai, but then evolves into something pretty interesting. It shows how different the Shield Hero is from other people summoned, and how each person was summoned here. I find it kind of funny that the guy who voices the Sword Hero is the guy who voices Kirito from Sword Art Online, which I'll talk more about later. And he gets into the world due to a VR game, so that's kind of a coincidence, but it's pretty funny. After all the sexual assault allegations, Shield Hero becomes a very brooding protagonist. He literally threatens people to get what he wants because no one treats him with respect anymore. The animation is pretty good, and the character designs looked cool, so I'm excited to see more. If you want to watch Rising of the Shield Hero, it's on Crunchyroll. Next show. This opening is so good. It's made by Uverworld, who've made bangers, such as The Promised Neverland had an incredible first episode. It's made by Cloverworks, which is A1's new parent studio, who've made some okay things, but last season they made Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, and that's actually a pretty good show. But the first episode will impress you. The show is about kids who live in an orphanage called the Grace Field House. We follow 3 kids, Ray, Norman, and Emma. Yeah, that's a girl. I thought it was a guy. They have a happy life and only live under one rule: don't go outside the forest area that they live around. Norman and Emma break the rule one day and they discover something truly terrifying. They team up with Ray to escape the orphanage. Never read the manga, but apparently it's really good, and it's published by Shonen Jump. Now whether you think that's a good or bad thing is really up to you. With a great soundtrack, great direction, and an interesting story, it's a show I'm probably going to finish, unless it drops in quality, which is possible. If you want to watch The Promised Neverland, guess what? It's on Crunchyroll. Again. The next show is Kakegurui XX. Now, I've never really finished the first season of the show, but I just wanted to mention it because it's so popular. This show is made by MAPPA, by the way, bless MAPPA. Or should I say, Sasuga MAPPA. They have such great openings in shows, like just listen.
One, two, one.
Anyway, if you've never seen the show, it's about a school that's pretty normal, except at nighttime after school, it becomes a gambling casino, basically. These kids learn how to deal with the severity of everyday life through gambling. If you lose, you become a quote-unquote house pet, and you have to become a slave. The main character loses and becomes a house pet. But then when he meets a transfer student named Yumiko Jibami, he discovers that she's actually crazy.
そんなリスクをかけた真剣勝負想像するだけでたぎってしまいますさあスカネラギさん
Nope! I'm out! She doesn't care about winning, but she plays for the thrill. The facial expressions in this show are so highly exaggerated that it helps to convey the emotion. It also has some great voice acting. The girl who plays Yumiko, Sayori Hayami, a very famous voice actor by the way, does a great job acting as both a normal girl and the crazy, lust for gambling type person Yumiko actually is. Honestly, this show's pretty fun. Compared to other gambling or strategy animes though, this show's not that great. Usually, both sides of the battle, whether it's gambling or something else, are pretty smart, and that's kind of true for this show. But the thing I don't like about this show is that Yumiko is smart, but her opponents, from what I saw, kind of just cheat, and that sucks. Sure, there's elaborate ways of cheating, but it's still cheating, and that takes away from the point of a strategy-type anime. Anyway, this season just continues where the last season left off. If you want to watch Kakegurui XX, or just normal Kakegurui, you guessed it, it's on Netflix. But since Kakegurui XX is on Netflix and it's not finished yet, and I'm here in the States, it's not going to be on Netflix until it's done. The next show is Dororo. This show really surprised me. I wasn't going to watch this show, but I kept seeing good things about it, and it's stunning. I love this thing that's happening recently with all these animes making old styles look good. Megalobox from last year had this whole looking like an old by messing with the quality of the show type thing, and Banana Fish also had the same style and it was also done by MAPPA, just like Dororo. Now we have two shows made with the same company this season, and like I said with Kakegurui, bless MAPPA. This show's going for that same old but polished style because, like Megalobox and Banana Fish, the source material is old. Originally published in 1967, they made an anime adaptation in 1969 and made a remake 49 years later. The story's off to a very intriguing start. It's about a man who's frustrated about the constant famines and struggles his people have to go through. So he enlists the help of demons to stop the famines, and to become the next ruler of his land in exchange for anything. Well, turns out that the exchange costs his newborn son's limbs, ears, and eyes. They decide to give up the son by putting him in the river, kinda like the story of Moses. Fast forward 16 years later, he has prosthetic, like swords, and it's sick. But he finds another kid named Dororo, who discovers who he truly is. The animation is great like I was saying before. With the old but polished style, the character designs are clean. The opening has the little kid Dororo looking like he did in the 60s version, which is a neat little touch. The backgrounds in the show look like they've been ripped from a watercolor painting, the ending looks like it was drawn with pencil, and it looks so good. The music is really good too. The opening combines newer instruments and styles, like the guitar, with traditional Japanese instruments. All the soundtrack fits very well with the theme too, using same traditional instruments as the opening. This blending of old versus new, the interesting premise, and the good animation will keep me engaged for the next 12 weeks for sure. Maybe I'll even check out the manga or the original show. If you want to watch Dororo, it's on Prime Video, like Amazon Prime Video. The next show on the list is Kaguya Love is War. People have been wishing for this to be an anime adaptation since its first publication, and I definitely see why. This show made me laugh out loud so many times. To take something like romance and make it into the most extra, most overcomplicated thing ever is so absurd. The main characters go to this school with a bunch of rich people, and the president and vice president of the student council have so much pride that they can't confess their love for each other. This first episode has them both trying to outsmart the other into confessing, and the situations are so funny. I've seen anime where the main characters use lots of strategy, like with baseball, gambling, or evading the police, but I've never seen it done with romance, which is already really complicated, and I think that's pretty unique. Speaking of unique, the direction of the show is phenomenal. It's so visually pleasing. The character designs look clean, and I love the little things they do to make the mundane things so intense. This is the guy who directed Rakugo, so he definitely knows how to direct emotion. It also has members of the old Studio Shaft team on staff who made the Monogatari series, so they get really creative with various shots. The opening is really good too. It's literally sung by a guy who does lots of Japanese love songs, so the songs itself and the visuals for the opening are super unique. The voice acting is a strong point too. The girl who plays Kaguya, Aoi Koga, does a good job shifting her voice from pompous vice president to cute anime girl.
全く下世話な愚民ども。それは乙女的にノー。そのような選択肢はノー。そう。
She's just like Sayori Hayami, how she had to change her voice for Kakegurui. The only gripe I have is the narrator. Many people are saying he's super great, but I think he kinda just repeats things we already know. He does make it more intense with the commentary.
絡めて一個人ではなく生徒会長として意見すればダメージはない巧妙な切り口。
But the two main characters have their own inner monologues, so I don't think the commentator's really needed. Another thing that's really concerning is the subs. A lot of people are very upset with the subs Crunchyroll has, because in the show, they say things that mean other things. So I'm not really sure if this is a spoiler, but I'll just say, spoiler warning, just in case. Kaguya calls Shirogane, the president, Kaicho, which means president in Japanese, but they sub it as Shirogane. They also call Chika Fujiwara, but they sub it as Chika. Now, why is this a problem? Apparently later in the story, there's a gag that relies on Kaguya saying Kaicho many times. Maybe there's something else that's important about Kaguya saying Kaicho, but I'm not sure. This doesn't mean anything to me, because ruining one joke, if it is just one joke, is fine. It's not like the subgroups that Crunchyroll uses misspell words. That just doesn't happen. In any case, I'm 100% finishing the show and will probably continue the manga. If you want to watch Kaguya, it's on Crunchyroll. The Quintessential Quintuplets actually wasn't bad. The premise written on my anime list was just so ridiculous, so let me just read out the first line of the premise. A high school romantic comedy with 5 times the cute girls. 5 times the cute girls. But anyway, the story goes like this. Futuro, a guy who kinda looks like you from Persona 4 with that stupid bow-looking thing that's a part of his hair, is a loner at a large school. He meets this one girl named Itsuki Nakano, who sits down at his regular lunch table. She argues with him and eventually asks him to tutor her. He refuses and leaves, but not before saying some super savage comments.
私の分を少し分けましょうか。
むしろあんたが頼みすぎなんだよ。太るぞ。
The next class rolls around and he discovers that this girl is super rich and a transfer student at his school. During the course of this episode, we meet other girls with various personalities, which will be important later. He decides to apologize for being so rude and to try to tutor her, so he goes to her apartment. Turns out all the girls he met throughout the course of the day are related. Not only are they related, but they're quintuplets! Wow. This was done by Tezuka Productions, who are also helping out with Dororo this season. They got some pretty high-tier voice actors for this show. They have the guy who voices Kirito from Sword Art Online, Soma from Food Wars, and many others. Kana Hanazawa is also a part of the cast, and she also voices many different characters. By the way, she's one of my favorite voice actors. There's also other famous voice actors like Inori Minase as well. I think this show has a good start. I like the characters, we get to see how different they are from each other while having the same quirks. The character designs look kind of basic, but the animation doesn't seem that bad. It's very colorful. The opening has all the girls sing together, which is pretty fun, and it's really funny. An unexpected surprise for sure, but I'll probably continue this one. If you want to watch the Quintessential Quintuplets, it's on Crunchyroll. Girly Air Force is by far the worst show I've ever seen. I know it's not fair to judge the entire show off the first episode, but it was so bad. So what I get from the show is this. Kei, our main character, and this other girl, Minghua Song, she's Chinese, are together on the ship that's getting attacked by the sea, or these airplanes that can move insanely fast and that humans can't stop. While they're evacuating, Kei sees a pink plane that can move at the same speed as the sea. It takes out one of the sea, but at the cost of itself. It crashes and Kei wants to get the pilot out. He swims over and discovers it's a girl in the plane. Then this happens. Guys, this is real. Anyway, later on, Kei discovers the plane again and realizes that they're the only thing that can stop the sea. They're also not human. The first episode is so boring. Now, boring usually doesn't mean bad, because there are shows that get better sometimes with boring beginning episodes, but this show doesn't show me any more interest for watching the show. The character designs are so bad, they're so plain. The music is so atrocious. Here's a taste. They barely explain what's going on in the beginning of the episode, so I still don't really know what was going on. There's some interesting things though, I guess. Minghua Song is Chinese, which is pretty cool. The ending has these really detailed drawings of all the girl pilots, which looks pretty cool. But this is just disappointing. It's by Satellite, and they've made one or two good shows, so I mean, I wasn't really expecting much, but this is so much worse than I could have imagined. Don't watch this show. If you do, you'll probably drop it like I did. If you really want to watch Girly Air Force, it's on Crunchyroll. Alright, now onto a better piloting show. Girls in Planes. I mean, the Magnificent Kotobuki. I'm only saying that because the director directed Girls in Panzer. He also directed Shirobako, which is one of my favorite shows, and many more. So this show was made by two companies that aren't super popular, WoW World and Gemba. Now, WoW World really hasn't made that many good things. And Gemba has only made Berserk 2016. And if you know anything about Berserk 2016, you know how great that is. I like this show, but honestly I don't really know what it's about. So let's read the synopsis together. In a barren frontier where people trade goods with each other in order to help each other survive, the Kotobuki Squadron are bodyguards for hire, led by a strict but beautiful squadron leader, an unreliable commanding officer, and a true artisan of a crew chief. Alongside pilots who don't lack for personality, they take to the air in dogfights, letting the engine noise of their Hayabusa fighters ring out in the skies. If what they showed at the end of the first episode was the opening, which it probably is, I really enjoyed it. It had a great song with one of my favorite anime singers, ZAQ, or Zack. The first episode did an okay job in introduction. Kotobuki is a girl who loves pancakes and is also cocky, but for good reason. She claims she has 47 stars compared to the first leader of the male squad, who has a measly 11 and 5/7 stars. I'm not making this up. After this is where the show really starts to shine. The dogfighting is supposedly very accurate. Now, I'm very in the dark with plane knowledge, but apparently the startup for the planes and the various aerial maneuvers are accurate according to Redditors. The attention to detail might be why I and many flight geeks like it so much. There's also a part where a member of Kotobuki Squad takes off her goggles and you can see the marks on her face. Little things go a long way. During the dogfight scene, dialogue dials down to a minimum so we can just see the dogfight, and it works a lot better than with more dialogue. Because, you know, film and TV is the essence of show and not tell, you know? This dogfight also shows how much of a difference Kotobuki Squad has to the male squadron. The sound is incredible as well. The planes are very loud and the gunshots feel like they have weight. It reminds me a little bit of Dunkirk with the very loud gunfire. There are some little problems though. The characters speak very fast when they do talk like I'm doing now. There are barely any breaks in the speech. They can ramble on and on about topics that are important or less important. It's hard to catch some of the dialogue. It's like that one show, The Tatsumai Galaxy. There's also a lot of CGI. It's not really a bad thing, especially since this CG doesn't look that bad, but it's mixed with 2D characters. The male squadron's in 2D while everything else is in 3D, like Kotobuki Squad, the planes, some other characters, and a lot of other things. It's just a guess, but I think it's just to show the difference between the two squads. While Kotobuki Squad is smooth and calculated, the male squad is rough and imprecise. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Anyway, if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited for the show. Although this episode was just a dogfight, they did it in such a way that I'm excited to see more. If you want to watch the Magnificent Kotobuki, it's on High Dive and Verve. If you have Crunchyroll Premium, you can sign up for Verve and also get Premium. Okay, that's it. Out of all the shows, I'm most excited